Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the Daily Market Wrap and what's ahead for the 18th of June. All right, now let's just have a look at the markets. I can't reiterate enough at the time of the event, Fed, big change. It's dollar strength for the next, for the next medium term, right? So even with short-term periodic data releases, like the Aussie was a good example yesterday, and I mentioned it. These and actually the Kiwi GDP numbers as well. These opportunities from these other countries, these are big enough to rock the boat with the US dollar move. They will stall it and potentially give you better levels to sell, get short those currencies, which may seem weird. Aussie employment numbers through the roof. Yep, let it bounce 40 points, sell, drops 100, right? The dollar move will dominate everything. And you see the dollar index there shooting to the top side. Now, just having a look here. Now, I just want to run through a couple of things. And I'm doing a video on sort of staggering into trades because once the trend lines have gone, when you see a move like this, right, and you see it moving across all currency pairs, the dollar yen, the odd one out, okay, now once the initial move's on and it takes off, if you square up, well, then you're out of the game. But if you don't lock in profits, you can leave some cash on the table. So it's a bit of a catch-22. What you need to be able to do is read the market and assess where you can get in, where you can get out. Now, to me, it's like 2 days in to the move, if not even 3. That's when you potentially get the retracement, right? The first move down, right? It's a little bit tricky. You get this a little bit of congested price action, right? It's gone far enough for the day. Traders are trying to work out, is it really going to go or not? It will not go 300 points in just one move. Now, this period here, you get a lot of squaring up, a lot of questions about will it retrace back to 120.50 or even back to the trend line? Then the next move goes forward, and you can see, even just looking at Euro, how the first move is clean. There's a bit of a thought process, then it drops, and now it starts to get a little bit congested. I'd expect it to probably trade a little bit sideways. Okay, we are getting into Friday's trading closer to the weekend, so there'll be a bit of profit taking. At the same time, the bounce here is going to be limited. And where to? Where would it be limited to? Well, where it sort of stalls, right? 120 the figure, definitely. 119.50 at the moment, to me, looks like an area of congestion where we may start to see it top out if we did see a bit of a retracement, and then it keeps going down. Now, the hard part is, unlike pure trend lines like this clean snap of this trend line up here, you lose the confidence or control of the trend line because there's no trend lines down here. So you got to, this is where market experience and understanding the market and your knowledge and skills around analysis come into play. Trying to work out where you can proportion your risk management, right, has to be quantified. Where can you do it? Well, looking at these levels, right? And this thing, and don't get me wrong, Euro for all money, right? If you had to put your house on it, where's this thing going? It's going to 118, even 117.50, right? Over the coming week or so. All we need is 1 or 2 US data releases next week, and this thing is brown bread, right? This is the low. What was that, back in April, right? I think that's where it's heading, down here. Now, how do you get into a trade from here to here? Well, that's the $1 million question. Sign up for a course and we'll let you know. Now, outside of that, so that just understand this move is still going. There is a chance for retracement. How far does it go? Well, this is a pretty safe bet. 120 the figure, like 100 points from where it is now. Bit of a stretch. If anything, maybe even 119.60 could do the retracement, and then you get the move down. Then it's set up for a decent retracement back a bit before it goes again. So hard times to work out entries if you haven't got into the trade. Dangerous chasing it, but very disappointing and frustrating at the same time. Now, what you've got to do is simply come back and go through your process. Like this trend line here is no good to us anymore. What you've got to start doing is redrawing the new, for the dollar base pairs. If I can just get that to pop up. What you're looking for is the new trend line, support trend line. So you know where to basically start assessing your next buying opportunity. And I'll draw them all because there's no point like just It doesn't cost you anything to draw trend lines, right? So just draw them all, work out your levels, see where these big retracements are, and look for momentum. Now, we've got direction. Momentum may shift from up and down and up and down. And one of the key things that you've got to understand, we are currently in the Asian session, right? So when you are looking at some of these pairs, if I just wind out Euro again, okay, the Asian session will usually counter the opposite move. So you get the move down in, say, North America, Asian session comes back, Europe goes down, and it's that sort of cycle, right? It just doesn't go down. There's always a bit of a squeeze situation opposite to the move in the Asian session, right? All the information is coming out in Europe, North America. So when you do get these situations where the currencies have moved, it's like a quiet time through Asia because there's no significant news coming out or macro data. And you just got to sit back and wait for the opportunity. And that's where you may get a bit of a squeeze. Now, just coming back to what's your focus? Well, the good thing is we saw yesterday, obviously the Fed, we saw the Kiwi data, GDP, we saw the Aussie employment numbers. All the macros there are starting to come into play big time, right? So start to focus on the macros. UK retail sales figures. I mean, sterling looks like it's in all sorts of trouble. Once again, I think strong UK retail sales figures, we see sterling bounce a bit and you get short sterling, right? The move is down. So just keep an eye on those things. The Bank of Japan, okay, rate decision. Now, that's not an event. It has been, in the early 90s. Don't expect too much from that. They haven't changed anything for eons. They're broke, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Dollar yen is basically neutral. Now that I've probably said that, touch wood, Murphy's Law, it'll come out with something weird. But you got existing house prices. When is that? That's the 23rd, next week. So really the main focus here is just trying to pick off the dollar momentum when it starts to rally. I think we'll see some profit taking leading into the weekend. UK retail sales has got to be at the top of your list for a bit of short-term momentum on sterling. As I said, even stronger numbers give you a chance to get short as we go forward. Now, currency relative strength, well, this loses its significance through the Asian session because it's usually opposite to the North American session. But when the news comes out, whether it's macro news, right? So it's Kiwi or Aussie data, you can see how the data is, if it's really performing. If the Aussie or the Kiwi, depending on where the price came from, if all the Aussie pairs start to rally, well, significantly that's impacting. If it's a bit mixed, well, then it's not. So, and especially with the US in the North American session, the US dollar should light up all red or all blue to signify it's impacting everything. And then you got to go find your best pair, probably best with the best technical setup. Daily change in the equities. This is good. I like the move down in the rally in the dollar. It's not significantly blowing out equity markets. So just looking at that, I'm like pretty comfortable that this is like the new medium-term trend coming up. Right at the moment in Asia, as I said, a bit of a counter trend, a bit of a risk on situation. You would expect the dollar block to rally during Asia, but how far? Like minuscule. So don't get yourself all excited there about seeing massive moves, but and the dollar falling, but it's just periodic. Look for opportunities to get into that long dollar trade. That's where the cash is. All right, guys, all the very best with the trading, and I'll get back to you probably Monday. Cheerio.